here and often go out. That is the time when ghosts are about. Creepies and crawlies from last Halloween. Awaken the spirits for Midsummer Scream. At this swinging wake, now summon you all, your seats to take. Our time is short, so let us begin. Yale, Claude, Mark, Walt, and all others, we invoke you. Come in.
When hinges creak in doorless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls, whenever candlelights flicker where the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight. Come out and socialize. Now close your eyes and try to hide. Or silly spook may sit by your side, shrouded in a disguise. They pretend to terrorize. Grim ghosts come out to socialize. High on the dead oak tree, spooks arrive for midnight spree. Creepy creeps with eerie eyes start to shriek and harmonize. Grim ghosts come out to socialize. When you hear the knell of a ring bell, weird glows claim our spirits dwell. Restless bones ethereal rises, spooks of every size. There's a simple rule that's compulsory. Mortals pay a token fee. Rest in peace, the haunting's free. So hurry back, we would like your company. Hurry back.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for a Bank of Harmony. 50 years ago next week, the most anticipated attraction in Disneyland's history opened to a curious public. The Haunted Mansion became an instant favorite, and for the last 5 decades has remained one of the world's most beloved theme park staples. Not only does the Haunted Mansion stand out as a monument to the genius of those web engineers that breathe life and death into its gloomy halls, it has inspired new generations of attraction designers, filmmakers, haunters, and fans who hold the mansion in the utmost regard. Today, we celebrate the Haunted Mansion and its 50-year chilling legacy. Please welcome to the stage Imagineer legend and creator of the Haunted Mansion's Doom Buggies, Bob Gurr. Disney's Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, and The Haunted Mansion, Don Hahn. Imagineering legend, Tony Baxter. Former creative executive at Walt Disney Imagineering, Tom Morris. Interior designer of the Haunted Mansion, Tanya Norris. And your host for this presentation, Doug Barnes of the Season Pass Podcast.
Midsummer Scream. Wow. Are you guys all in line for the Haunted Mansion right now? Oh my gosh. This is a lot of people. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for being here at Midsummer Scream. How many are you excited about this weekend? The best weekend of Halloween is right now. All right, so we are going to celebrate this little ride that's celebrating 50 years right down the street, known as the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. You know, I've always looked at this as never just a ride, but this is actually a life experience, and it's something that sticks with you forever, right? So a part of your life really does, you know, Haunted Mansion is part of it throughout your life. So everything that you look at in theme parks and just themed entertainment in general, you usually end up judging it by the Haunted Mansion. So very happy to be here with you guys. This is a nice panel that we got stacked up right here, right? All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Of course, 50 years, Haunted Mansion, Disneyland, and this is me with my sister Rebecca. So this is when I was innocent and easygoing and stuff. 3 years old, 1982, and then after that, 25 years of complete confusion happened in my life. So my first visit to Disneyland, went there. And I remember two things after that visit. I remember a head and a ball talking to me, made me scoot down in my seat. And then I remembered a giant eyeball staring at me, and I slid further into my seat. So as I remember coming back home after that trip, and I was like, okay, I don't know if I need to do Disneyland ever again. But I decided that, at some point I'm gonna grow up, right? So 5 years later, 1987, the parents were like, we're going back to Disneyland. You know, I'm 8 years old, I'm much stronger, I'm a bigger guy. I'm into, facing my fears, so I'm like, I'm gonna test out Haunted Mansion. We're also here for this little ride that opened up called Star Tours. Tony, have you heard of Star Tours? Did you? Oh, okay. All right, Star Tours. Star Tours was awesome, by the way. And then
we got rid of that eyeball for you.
Well, you're jumping ahead of the story, Tony. No, but so we had the chance to go on Haunted Mansion, and I went through the rooms, the hallways, the doors, saw the head, Madame Leota, passed her. I was like, yeah, I did it. I went past it. I went into the ballroom, saw them dancing, went into the attic, we went into the graveyard, and then we saw ourselves in mirrors, and we were done. And I was thinking, that was awesome. I'm so happy I got to do this again and not be so scared of it. Where's that eyeball? Where's that eyeball at? And so I asked my parents, I asked Mom, I'm like, hey, Mom, do you remember there was an eyeball that was staring at me? And she said, no. I'm like, no, there was. I know there was. She goes, son, you were 3 years old. I'm like, no, I know there was an eyeball. So I went to my dad and I said, Dad, there was an eyeball that was staring at us. And he's like, okay, son. So they thought I was insane, so I went on in life. For the next 20 years of my life until 2007, when I was at work, I work at a data entry place. It's just a bunch of cubicles. We have headphones to listen to music and podcasts, and I was really getting into podcasts at that time. I was listening to a podcast called Window to the Magic, and here we go, we got 3 Paul fans over here. That's awesome. All right. So, and they play the audio to this ride called Adventure Through Inner Space. There you go. Well, so my confusion of thinking that I was insane and fabricating things in my mind for 25 years, all came to a halt right at the moment when they started playing the audio and I heard magnification, and I started hearing the music, and all of a sudden I like jetted back to a 3-year-old sitting in the middle of an Omnimover vehicle, and then I realized I never made it up. That was really there, and the whole point of this story is to say that Bob Gurr was the beginning of my insanity from a 3-year-old to right now. My parents still don't remember that at all. I called them up. I'm like, do you remember that? And they're like, no. But Bob, so let's go ahead and start about the dune buggies a little bit. Did this vehicle actually start with Monsanto's Adventure Through Inner Space, or did it start with the Haunted Mansion?
Everybody thinks the Omnimover, the dune buggy, started with the Haunted Mansion. How many of you know it never started in the Haunted Mansion? That was stolen from the Voyage to Inner Space, which was 2 years earlier. But the big difference was we found out with the Voyage to Inner Space, they have kind of a car that you could snuggle 2 or 3 people in. And it was our first time that operations found out a whole new side of guest behavior. Oh yes, I'm not going to go in too far into that one.
I worked that ride for one summer. That explains so much, yeah.
No, that's all right. I was hired to do fun vehicles, and boy, that was the funnest vehicle. So what did you want to know seriously about the dune buggies?
Well, I was wondering, since you were there when they needed it, what was the conversation that said, let's get this the Omnimover in to be the dune buggy for the
Okay, if some of you remember the New York World's Fair 1964-65, there was 2 other attractions that had a continuous line of vehicles. That appealed to me from a good standpoint. If you have a chain of vehicles, you can't have a collision, so you don't need an anti-collision system. Okay, we got that one done. If the vehicles are following one another fairly closely, you're going to have a pretty good theoretical ride capacity. Well, these 2 vehicles that I'm talking about, one rode sideways and one followed the vehicle in front. So all you saw was the back of the hair of the people in front. Well, that's not fun. So I was sitting talking to John Hench, and he happened to have a candied apple sitting on his desk, and I just absentmindedly picked it up and twirled it, and I says, John, we can make a chain of vehicles that runs on a track, but instead of putting the body on the vehicle rigidly, I could put it where I could turn it and I could lean forward and lean back, and this would give the art directors and the storytellers a chance to direct the audience into each scene. And it will also save some time. As you turn from one scene to the other, you can turn quickly and have less time loss in the segue between scenes. And it was such a simple thing, and I says, John, we're going to move a bunch of people, and we just move them in all different directions, and I was a pilot at the time, and there was a thing called navigational aid called Omni-Range. I says, John, this is the Omnimover. So you got to watch out what you call your first sketch, because the name got stuck, and we never got a chance to give it a proper name, so I'm sorry, but that's how it developed. The writers if you remember, the Haunted Mansion was going to be a really crump, scary walkthrough, and you can't control people when you go from a sequence of one thing to another. And as they saw us developing the Omnimover at 1401 Flower in the back, we had a little test track. They said, "Oh my gosh, that solves our walk-around problem." So bang, the Haunted Mansion would have been sitting there kind of dormant for years figuring out how to do it. They said, "We got it. We got the answer." So the Haunted Mansion changed and went in a whole new direction of the idea that you have directed scenes, you have all the gags that you want to do, and since the track had already been going to prove itself out very well, the dune buggies came to life.
There you go. And that's what I'm looking for now. That's what many of us remember it from Adventure Through Inner Space, but it's legend with...
Well, you ask a technical question, I'll give you the technical answer, yes. Yeah, that's good.
Right on. So we are going to actually go on to Tony Baxter right over here. And Tony, so obviously the Haunted Mansion meant quite a bit to you in your younger years, growing up in Disneyland.
Oh yeah, because for about 8 of those younger years, it was not open.
Yeah.
So you'd ride the train and you'd look down through the slats and the thing to see if there was any construction work down below the train. And so finally when it went into production, of course I couldn't resist being a ride operator out there, and I snuck in. So here's a secret. One of those doors in the corridor of doors, if you look closely, it's got an exit sign on it. That goes outside into the rear of Disneyland. It also is an entry for an employee that's taking his break and going over to sneak into the Haunted Mansion. I remember walking in that door and then walking down to the Madame Leota seance. And I just sat there mesmerized until a security guard came by and hauled me back to the other side of the park. Anyway, this is kind of interesting, the shot here, because Steve Davidson had come up with the idea of putting a Christmas overlay on. And he brought me, I was the head of the park design group there, and he brought me in to show it to me. It was just the night before Christmas in the Haunted Mansion. And of course, we had this brand new property, but it was a touchstone film, if you remember when it came out. So it wasn't exactly approved for Disneyland. But we were able to add that one word in there, and kind of the rest was history on making the duality of the shows we have in Disneyland and in Tokyo. And so that's, you know, and the other thing would be the Hatbox Ghost, if you want me to go on.
Yeah, keep on going.
He was in there for the first week that I wrote it. And I actually had a little card that I found that has proof. If you look on there, you can see number 28, Ghost Hatbox. So it was actually maintained for a while, and about a week, and I think a little video showed up of it. But anyway, I thought I was the monomaniac about getting it back into the house, but it turned out Guillermo del Toro is obsessed with that character. So at one of the Comic-Cons, he announced, I'm going to do this Haunted Mansion movie again, a sequel, and I'm going to have it starring the Hatbox Ghost, so we can finally get that in. They'll have to put it in the ride if it's the star of the movie. And in the years that came on, he actually had one built for his collection, and some friends of mine were able to do that for him. And he did an incredible storyboard and whatnot. And then it fell by the wayside. But we at the park decided, you know, enough time has passed, and let's get that guy in there. So the Hatbox Ghost.
Oh, there's plenty to talk about. Yeah, we'll bring up Phantom Manor. I just remembered there was a few years ago. I remember you let me hold that card.
Yeah.
and my hands started shaking. And I was like, because I was starting to sweat, and I was scared that I was going to destroy the card by just sweating on this thing from my holding the moment this legendary card. So I had to give it back to you really quick.
You know, for me it was the opposite. I was like, I'm not lying. I really did see it there. And so I was so thrilled when a really bad 8mm movie showed up, where somebody actually captured this guy in there. So
yeah. Well, obviously you have been inspired. You've done a few attractions since then that are inspired by the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. It was interesting when we went to Paris, we did a lot of research about the Europeans and the French in general, and specific. And it turned out that they got funny, they loved Jerry Lewis, and he's just the national hero over there. But
of course.
They also love scary. I mean, the Pierre Lachaise Cemetery, for those of you that love Gothic cemeteries, a must. You must go there before you die. Or go there after you die.
I'll be there.
It was an inspiration for Phantom of the Opera. Anyway, but they don't get scary funny. And that was the weird thing, because Mark favored the very comical things, and Claude Coates, who had ordered a screening of the movie The Haunting by Robert Wise. If you haven't seen it, it's the 1961, not the newer one from DreamWorks, but they watched that over and over again, and you can clearly see the doors in the haunted hallway pulsing and everything. That's from that movie, as is the wallpaper patterns that come to life. So there was a schism between Mark and Claude preferring the more frightening, and Mark liking the humor. And so when we did Paris, we had the decision to make. Are we going to go humorous and keep it pure to that, or go scary? And I think we came down a little bit more scary on it, and they just redid it. I'm going to pitch something here. This great book just came out 3 days ago, just on Phantom Manor, and the redo of the ride is extraordinary, and they've even strengthened the story. It's real macabre. You watch the bride go from a young, beautiful thing to an aging corpse at the end of the ride. And so, yeah, 3 of these are on order. I was hoping I could hold it up for you today, but it just didn't get here in time. But yeah, so it's just been redone. If you haven't seen it in the last year, you haven't seen it.
All right, congratulations on that, by the way, too. That's awesome. You know, talking about it, you said the Haunted Mansion obviously it's inspiration. Don, Haunted Mansion's been inspiration.